I am Jim Collison, and this is the Wellbeing at Work with CliftonStrengths podcast recorded on February 17th, 2022. In this CliftonStrengths podcast, we'll look at the strengths, insight, and action planning items from the Appendix 1 in the Gallup book, Wellbeing at Work, one theme at a time. Today's theme is ideation. If you're listening live, love to have you join us in our chat room for questions. If you're listening after the fact, you can always send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. Dr. Jacqueline Robinson is our host today. She works as a Gallup Learning and Development Consultant and was the primary contributor to Appendix 1 in the Wellbeing at Work book. And Jacqueline, always great to see you and welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Let's get cooking on this definition. When we say ideation, what do we mean by that?
Okay, so when we say ideation, we mean that people that lead with ideation are fascinated by ideas. They're able to find connections between seemingly disparate phenomena.
When we think about how it relates to you and how it relates to others, I'm really excited for this conversation, by the way. But
I know.
Give us those two.
Such a creative theme. So how it relates to you, every day you can find inspiration from the world around you. It seizes you with energy and enthusiasm as you come up with different ways of completing work, breaking through obstacles, or even connecting with people. How it relates to others, when people need inspiration or a creative way of thinking about a topic or an obstacle, they know they can call on you for support. So that ability to get others unstuck when they've hit a wall not only supports their well-being, but likely yours, because you can really lean into that creative talent.
A battery charging moment for me. I had a partner for a lot of years at Gallup. Jody was her name, and I'd come in. She's like, I need 3 ideas. Now she totally knew how to use ideation. She didn't let me ideate forever. She was like, your first 3 ideas are usually your best. And so
she knew you.
Oh, totally. And so she'd be like, I need 3 ideas on this, and as much as I hate when people say this on Facebook, but then she'd go, and think for a second and then just start rolling. Communication high. So I talk through them, right? But just a really great way to recharge. She didn't know. No, she did know it. She was recharging my batteries and getting ideas for things that she needed, That's needed.
A great example.
Right? And so it was just great. It both related to me. And I've admitted this before. I don't know about you, but I actually ideate before I go to sleep as a way to relax. Now, some people say that's weird. Like, no, if I was thinking about things, I'd stay awake. No, it actually relaxes me. Right? So I'll be trying to solve a problem. I'll go to bed. I'll lay down and do a little, kind of close my eyes, a little meditation, and I'll think through all the ways to solve that problem. And by the time I get to the end, well, I don't know when I got to the end because I fell asleep. Right? I know, Jacqueline. How's it work? How's it work for you?
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on you a little bit more to see, do you end up losing that traction of the idea when you wake up in the morning? Or I know some people high with ideation will journal it before they go to sleep to get it out. And then they pass out.
No,
but it sounds like
there.
You just fall asleep and you remember in the morning.
I do. It's there, and then usually, I'll rethink it again in the shower because that's a great. These times of isolation are when they're magic times for ideators. These isolation times, driving, being in a plane, a shower, whatever. Right, those kinds of things where you can't be doing other things, and your brain gets time to kind of crank around. So typically then the next morning as I'm getting ready for the day, I'll re-energize that in my brain to say, okay, what am I going to do now? And think, and then continue to sort. Because remember, ideating has got to sort, has some maximizer too. So this is probably doing it as well. But you can generate these and then need to sort them in some way. And I think maximizer helps me get them sorted.
That's a great way of leaning into it.
Anything else you want to add from I don't want to dominate that section, but just from an overall standpoint on ideation, anything else you want to add?
No, I love ideating with ideators. It helps people, whether you have it or not, when you're around someone high in ideation, it triggers a sense of inspiration and excitement and creativity in that person as well, I feel. And it's just, it feels very synergistic. That's the word.
Yeah, and it's good for my well-being. Like, it charges my batteries. I kinda use it, we'll talk about this here in a little bit, but I use it to do
Yeah.
that. One of my favorite things to do with a bunch of folks who have high ideation is say, and to be very, very clear, we're not actually gonna make any decisions. Like, let's just talk about this.
I think that's key too,
That's yeah.
especially in the workplace when you have a bunch of maybe
Yeah,
achievers or
yeah,
executors, and they're like,
yeah.
"Oh, we're taking all of these ideas and running with them."
Yeah, a lot of fun. It can frustrate, restorative, or it can frustrate achievers from that standpoint. But setting those ground rules and
Mhm.
folks high in ideation, especially as we kind of coming out of the pandemic and maybe coming back together, new rules, whatever, new ways to do
Yes.
things, may be great for them to practice this sentence.
Mhm.
We're gonna come up with some ideas. We may not move on any of them. Let's just talk through this, right? And kind of
Mhm.
set the stage for that going forward. Speaking of that, we're doing this in the context of well-being. What does ideation look like? Thriving versus struggling?
Yes. For thriving, this person really thrives when they have the freedom to brainstorm ideas and try something new. I'll caveat that and say, and or try something new. But it's even better if they get to do so with creatives. In addition, being part of a team or an organization that's open to innovation and new ways of thinking can be quite rewarding. Um, in terms of struggling, this person can struggle in an environment that's focused on maybe tried and true methods, and they're not quite open to change where it's warranted. They can also struggle when their workload inhibits their think time or creative process. So if there's limited time to really get your ideas on paper or to bounce it off of somebody or to just kind of think it through and get clarity, I've recognized that that can also be quite a struggle for those high in
Mhm,
ideation.
mhm. I struggle a little bit with the long-term things because ideation can move rapidly. Doesn't have to, by the
Mhm.
way. It can this thing can be long-term as well. Just for me, I'm more in the day. I like to I can have 1,000 ideas in a day, and the next day, 1,000
Mhm.
new ideas, right? Just, "Hey, how could we" I used to joke all the time when I drive home from work, I drive home a different way every time because I wanted to have adaptability as well, right? So I wanted to see something new. I wanted to look at things in a different way for new ideas, for new concepts, for new
Yes.
things, right? Maybe they're doing it a little bit different this way. Maybe there's something to that, right? And taking advantage of other people's ideas too is, "Oh,
Mhm.
oh, yeah. Oh, that sounds good." So I think there's some great ways kind of in that. As we take it a best practice of this in Appendix 1 by each of the well-being elements, we've looked at this theme. Well, let's look at one. What did you pick for us today?
This is so fun. I chose social well-being.
Mm,
So this person will thrive in the presence of others with high ideation. I'll also caveat that to say, or again, other folks that are highly creative. So they are inspired by others' innovation, not unlike great jazz musicians. Help them find environments that stimulate high creativity and innovation, such as conferences and festivals. So by that, what I mean is South by Southwest that is in
mm,
Austin, just a place where a lot of creatives come together, whether they're in music, arts, technology, where they talk about what's new and innovative. Or in Dubai, they have what do they call it? The Dubai World Expo. And it's 192 countries coming together, bringing innovation and culture. So things like that someone high in ideation can do in their free time can really just spark social well-being.
that's so great. I have to be careful even during a session like this. My brain begins to kick into ideation mode, and all of a sudden,
Mhm.
I'm kind of thinking like, "Oh, there's some more things to do in that." There are four other examples of that this theme by one of the elements of well-being. I think a great resource for you to use with those that you coach. Just a great opportunity to go in there and ask some great questions. It's not exhaustive, but it's a great way to get in there and get the conversation going. Again, this resource, back of the book, Appendix 1, we'd
Mhm.
love to have you take a look at that. So, this is a really important question, and it's kind of my favorite question throughout all of
Me
these that we
too.
do is how can we use ideation to support others?
Yeah, so if you're a manager or leading a team, sometimes you see a pathway or connection that fellow colleagues or your team may not. So help them see the positive possibilities when they find themselves stuck in a rut or perhaps more resistant to change. If you're on a team, one way to nurture your creative mind while inspiring fellow team members is to schedule 15 to 30-minute quick connects. You and your colleague can just brainstorm and ideate and share ideas back and forth. that can be a powerful way to both fuel productivity and get in some social well-being. And then as an individual, perhaps without even knowing it, your creative outlets, it could be music, art, poetry, dance, technology, something else, but not only does that energize you, but it inspires others around you.
Mm,
So through observation, oftentimes your creative talents can help others feel enlightened and encouraged to push, I would say, beyond their comfort zone to
mm.
try something new or something that they've always wanted to do. So just um, little fuel for your bucket, little drop in your
Yeah.
bucket.
Well, I like you inspired me in a thought that is like, when I create, or for those with high in ideation, when they have a great idea where it's inspiring and they're doing it just to do it.
Mhm.
I'd love to, like, I think some of those ideas need to make their way to people who can take them other places, that can do things with
Yes.
them. Oftentimes they may just wither and go away, and that's okay for some folks with high ideation. Like, it's fine. It was a good idea yesterday, not today. That's okay. Like,
Yes.
that's fine, right? But I think there's some really great inspiration in that, and sometimes we need to capture that. I think that's the heart of what you were saying there, right? Get that
Yes.
written in a journal, or get that down, or have a conversation with somebody. Capture some of those good
Mhm.
ideas, right, from that. Anything else that you'd add to that?
No, that really resonates, and, a lot of folks in chat were saying the same with ideation is they find a theme that can really ground it and help them execute on it
Yeah,
or
yeah,
sort like you do with maximizer and ideation,
yep,
or having that partner is key in getting some of those great ideas into
yeah.
reality.
Yeah, so great. Let's do this
Uh-huh.
exercise from Appendix 2, because I think this plays right into it. Very simple exercise we can work through. So, Jacqueline, let's take us through that exercise now.
All right. So I believe I pulled from social well-being for this one. So ask yourself, how can I provide friendship and support to someone? Again, that creative energy is such a spark and it's such a joy for people. Ask your team members, do we encourage each other to have enjoyable experiences, such as a great vacation? And then take action. Participate in activities that let you use your strengths every day. Um,
Mm.
I would say go where your creative energy flows in this case.
Yeah, I love that. Follow that passion, follow
Hmm.
those pieces, and I might even say, ask yourself, right, because this exercise is ask yourself, ask your team members, and then take action.
Yes.
Ask yourself, what kind of situations can I put in where ideation is valued?
Hmm.
Fill in any theme, right? In that case, where can I put myself where this theme is honored or needed, right? That's even better in some cases, because if they need it,
Yes.
oftentimes people don't say, nah, no, I don't need any more love and acceptance. People
Yes.
don't say those kinds of
Move
things, right?
along.
Yeah, I want to be miserable. Just let me go. Again, there's always exceptions, but I think a great opportunity to ask yourself, how can I put myself in a situation where this is honored, or I'm adding value, right? And I think that's
Hmm.
really kind of the first step in that.
Gosh, that's
Jacqueline,
a
any
great question.
any final thoughts as we wrap this one up?
No, I feel like we've really gone deep with ideation. It's such an enjoyable theme. Ideation and futuristic are two real creative themes out of the. I mean, all themes are very creative, but I think at Gallup we consider those two as some of our highly creative themes. So yeah.
All right.
I love being around it. It's so fun. So I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'm over here in dreamland thinking about ideation now.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Well, with that, we'll remind everyone to take full advantage of all the resources we do have available now in Gallup Access. Head out to gallup.com/CliftonStrengths. Log in there. We got tons of resources that are available for you
Mhm.
there for coaching, master coaching, or if you want to become a Gallup certified strengths coach and do this maybe with your organization, or however that works out. You can send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. We'll help you with that as well. Find us on any social platform by searching Clifton Strengths. Maybe start listening to the new Clifton Strengths podcast. That's where these are getting
Oh,
distributed to,
yes.
through the new Clifton Strengths podcast. So just search Clifton Strengths podcast in any podcast app that you have and find us there. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. I want to thank you for joining us today. If you're listening live, we got some time for some post show. So
Mhm.
stay around. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.